Here we are at Yosemite National Park. It's just great. It's beautiful. But we want to ask the question, like, how did this get here and how did it come to be? Isn't this stunning? Here we are at Yosemite National Park. It's just great. It's beautiful. But we want to ask the question, like, how did this get here and how did it come to be? So this is what I would say to a 10-year-old. Let's say I have a 10-year-old son and we're looking over the valley and he says, this is stunning, but how did it get here? I would say that the flood of Noah helps us explain how this valley got here. So in a broad brushstroke, I would say something like this. You have the flood is happening. It lays down mud, and these mud layers extend across all the continents of the world. But early in the flood, there was only one continent. That thing broke up and starts moving apart rapidly. And then the Pacific plate beneath the Pacific Ocean, it slams into North America and South America. But here in North America, it slams in, plunges down, and melts material that then rises up because it's melted. And this melt intruded up through those mud layers to make these incredible mountains. But then we have to carve out the valley. So how did that happen? Well, what happens when you have a hot sea floor? Well, the heat rises, the sea surface evaporates, and you get all this extra evaporation. That's how you make an ice age. So the ice age happened because of the flood, after the flood, and lots and lots of precipitation. All that water up in the air, it comes down as snow, and it filled this entire area higher than the tops of the peaks here. I mean, it was ice, really thick right here. And then during the ice age, things are finally settling down, and ice eventually, hundreds of years later, say, and the flood about 4,500 years ago, and that ice melted and carved out, just scoured out this whole valley, leaving us with an incredible landscape of steep-sided, carved-out granite cliff sides, and the flood explains so much of what we see. Now, this is important. It's important because you're going to have Christians tell you the flood is described in the Bible, and it sounds like it's saying it's a global flood, but it's really not a global flood, because if we take this verse, let's say the verse in Genesis 7, describing the flood, that says, "And the waters prevailed exceedingly on the earth, and all the high hills under the whole heaven were covered." Then they say, well, there's not enough water to cover the Himalayas or the Rockies or the Sierras. But today's mountains aren't the mountains that were in view back then. So these are the high hills of the pre-flood world, and they were much lower, okay? So now we have a global flood, just like the text says. And if we have confidence that the words are accurate about the flood being global, not just the words in Genesis, but think about 2 Peter 3, by which the world that then existed perished, being flooded with water. The whole earth is what he says. And in similar manner, God's going to judge the whole earth again. And so if it's a local flood and it was just Mesopotamia or some small area, then what about the people that are outside that? Are they not going to be judged? Of course, the judgment day is coming for all men. So we need to have a consistent theology, and that comes from really putting these rocks in their place, which is during the flood and carved out during the ice age after the flood. It solves so many problems, and it lets us take our Bibles at face value. How valuable is that?